In the summer of 2014, we got invited to a friend's wedding in Greece. Instead of just going over for the weekend, we decided to make an entire vacation of it. We spent 10 days traveling around the Peloponnese, eating amazing Greek food, exploring quaint seaside Greek towns, swimming in the warm Mediterranean Sea, and doing some traditional Greek dancing at the wedding. But on the way over, we decided to take a quick side trip for a long weekend in London. Dun 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 dun. We've been to London numerous times before, which is why we decided to focus on an area of the city we haven't seen much, the East End. Nikki found us a great studio apartment in London's answer to Brooklyn, Shoreditch. And just 1 block away from our apartment was Brick Lane, a street lined with curry restaurants. Some people say that this street is responsible for introducing curry to the Western world. Now, I don't know how many restaurant awards there are in London, but literally every single one of these places is the world's best something. We ate here, not just because of the name, but because it was voted one of the world's best curry houses. Here's the Master Chef of the Year Award, and the Good Foods Award, and the Curry Chef of the Year Award. Also located conveniently close to our apartment was our favorite market in London, Borough Market, where we went to stock up on fruits, cheeses, and meats for our 4-day stay. My favorite stop in the market is unquestionably Neal's Yard Dairy, one of the finest cheesemongers in all of London. Seen here, Nikki picked out a fine selection, including local favorites Stilton and Cheddar. Shoreditch was really great at 2 things: curry restaurants and street art. Lots and lots of street art. Now, I'm kind of a sucker for old school England, so we did take one afternoon to hop on a boat, head down the Thames, and visit the city of Greenwich.
Set your clocks. We're in Greenwich.
In addition to being a good place to set your watch, Greenwich is England's maritime capital. It's also home to a maritime museum, the Old Royal Naval College, a 19th century tea clipper, and some great old English pubs.
Well, we are here in Greenwich and we checked out the Cuddy Sark, and then we went to the Marine Museum, and now we are having a pint at Trafalgar House.
Pub. Who's this fine-looking gentleman that you're with?
Well, he's missing an arm, so this must be Nelson.
We had a great 4 days exploring the up-and-coming neighborhoods of East London. And it wasn't until the day we left on our cab ride out to Heathrow that we finally caught a glimpse of some of those better-known London landmarks.
Last night at 10 p.m. we left London to fly to Greece. We are now in Nafplio, Greece's first capital, which was once ruled by both the Ottomans and the Venetians. Behind me, you can see both a mosque and a Venetian fortress.
Ancient Nafplio, just a couple hours' drive from Athens, is located on a charming harbor. There are 3 Venetian-era forts that guard the city. One is in the harbor, the other 2 are in the hills behind the city.
We are at Kardamili, a 18th century fortress at the top of Nafplio, and here is a view below.
The lower part of Nafplio was designed by the Venetians. There are tight roads that lead to big, open courtyards. The upper portion of the town was designed by the Ottomans, and it was a twisting series of narrow lanes and steep paths. Our hotel was perfectly located on a tree-lined street at the top of the upper town. Our room had a view over the entire city and the harbor below. After 2 nights in Nafplio, we headed west over the rugged mountains of the Peloponnese to the idyllic little beach town of Kardamili. Alright, so we are driving from Nafplio to Kardamili. We're going over the mountains in the middle of the Mani Peninsula. We're nearly at the top, looking back to the water. You can see Nafplio out in the distance there. And if you turn around, you can see the somewhat Sicilian-looking landscape of the internal Peloponnese. It cooled down a little bit up here. Still pretty hot. For 3 hours, we drove over small, winding, mountainous roads to get to the western shore of the Peloponnese. And about an hour south of the olive-famous city of Kalamata is the under-discovered town of Kardamili. Kardamili is one of the oldest towns in Greece. It's even mentioned in Homer's Iliad. Its sleepy main drag runs parallel to the water and is deserted even in the height of the summer. Look to the left and you'll see the highest mountains in the Peloponnese. Look to the right and it's the clear blue water of the Mediterranean. There are no tourist shops or big resorts in Kardamili. Only rooms to let and little bed and breakfasts. Ours had direct access to the water, which was a good way to cool off in the blistering Greek heat. At the other end of these rocks was the town's beautiful and nearly deserted Ritsa Beach. And while we did spend the better part of 3 days here, we managed to find time for a hike into the ancient hills behind the town. Pirates and bandits terrorized this area of Greece during the Middle Ages. The residents of Kardamili had no choice but to move into fortified towns up in the hills. Hiking past these old settlements, along donkey trails, and through ancient olive groves, we made it to a centuries-old church with sweeping views of the Messenian Gulf.
We are hiking above Old Kardamyli through old olive groves up to an old church. Old.
So, 45 minutes up the path in the excruciating heat, and here we are at the Hagia Sophia, perched high above the town of Kardamili. Nikki and I both agreed that Kardamili was one of, if not the best town we've ever visited in Europe. And after 3 great days, we headed north past the ancient town of Sparta to the groom's ancestral village of Levidi for the wedding. Here we are getting ready for the wedding. There's Nikki. And we are in our little Alpine-esque Greek room in the Alpine region of Greece. I don't know. Yeah, believe it or not, Greece has an Alpine region complete with ski resort, although it hasn't snowed in several years. The wedding was in a small church nestled in the hills outside of town. The ceremony was traditional Greek Orthodox. Back in town, the reception raged on all night. There was lots of traditional dancing, some more interesting than others. Here's Nikki's favorite, the whipping of the groomsmen. Greek or not, if you give people enough ouzo, they will eventually light something on fire. We had one last day in Athens before we left. We wandered the Plaka, had one final great Greek meal, and watched the sunset behind the Acropolis.